This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
This is Faith Under Fire. We take you straight to the voices on the front lines of religious battlegrounds. I'm news anchor Sarah Harnisch, and with me today, photographer Emilee Carpenter. We're talking religious freedom. We get a 2-for-1 today, Emilee, because also with you is Alliance Defending Freedom attorney Brian Neihart. This story is pretty close to our heart because you're from the Elmira, New York area, right, Emilee?
That's correct. Yep. I've always been in Elmira and now live in New York State, even though I was raised in PA.
It's not often that we have an Alliance Defending Freedom story right in our backyard, but that's where this one is. And the state of New York is going to be paying $225,000 in attorney's fees after you sued them over a state law that would have forced you to photograph same-sex weddings. It is a very rare win for religious freedom in the Empire State and a win for all of us. Emilee, can you tell me what happened?
We're so thankful to have just had a victory passed down from the judge coming out of a 4-year-long legal battle that was pretty brutal and pretty uncomfortable, but something that I felt was worth the cost. Ultimately, I am a Christian wedding photographer and just felt like I wanted to be able to operate my business in line with my religious convictions and create artwork that was consistent with biblical beliefs. And so to me, moving forward with this legal battle and now coming out on the other side of it with a victory feels incredible. Thank you, God.
You were facing severe threats in New York. Can you tell me what you were up against? What would have happened if you had lost?
Yeah, so New York State has what's called public accommodations law, and that put me in jeopardy of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fines, jail time, closure of my business. Ultimately, it felt like my options were violate my faith, violate the law, or close down my business, obviously none of which are reasonable. They felt that they could compel my speech and force me to promote messages that I disagreed with.
That's right. The court ruled, consistent with the Supreme Court case that came out about 2 years ago, that governments cannot use these kinds of laws to compel a creative professional like Emilee, photographers, website designers, and other people that create expression for their livelihood. Governments cannot compel them to create and promote messages that violate their religious beliefs. In 2023, the United States Supreme Court decided a case called 303 Creative versus Elena's, where it held that Colorado could not compel a website designer to create custom websites celebrating a view of marriage that violated her beliefs. And in Emilee's case, the court followed that same approach and said it is now beyond dispute that governments cannot use these kinds of laws to compel speech. Courts around the country are continuing to recognize that the First Amendment is violated when governments compel speech and that these kinds of laws cannot be used to trump our First Amendment rights.
Do you think that the tide is changing for faith-based businesses in America?
I think so. I think in 2023, this 303 Creative decision was really a landmark decision, and it's consistent with our democracy.
How does somebody go from photographing a wedding to ending up in a courtroom with New York State on the other side of it? How did this play out?
That's a great question, Sarah. Honestly, something I never thought would be my story. And yet here we are. It actually all started back in college. I had a very dear family friend who identifies as part of the gay community and had asked me to photograph his wedding. That really sent me on this larger trajectory of, oh my goodness, I'm going to continue getting these inquiries. And once I incorporated my business in 2019 and was continually getting more inquiries, it created a lot of anxiety. I don't know what my rights are. I don't know where this leaves me. I wanted to be able to run my business in a way where I could honor my religious conviction.
How did it end up in a courtroom?
I have a friend who is a lawyer, and after having gotten multiple same-sex inquiries, I ended up reaching out to him and saying, you know what, I'm getting these inquiries. These are my beliefs about marriage. Where does that leave me? And he was the first person that ever exposed me to New York's public accommodations laws. And from that that point, I reached out to my pastor at my church and said, I just was made aware of these laws. I don't know what to do. I'm having a lot of anxiety and I don't have any clarity on how I can operate my business. And he was the first person then that pointed me to Alliance Defending Freedom. So it really was just like one door opening, doing a little exploring, another door opening, doing a little more exploring and researching. And then ultimately I decided to move forward with the support of Alliance Defending Freedom in challenging New York's public accommodations laws.
What incredible bravery and courage on your part, because as a Christian in New York State, it's very daunting because you don't know which laws you're going to get smacked with. And for you to take a stand against these laws and say, no, my belief system is also welcome in this space, you just opened the door for all the other Christian businesses behind you. It changed the game. Most people wouldn't sit through years of litigation to stand up to one of the most blue states in America. Why did you do it?
I felt like as a Christian, it is not just your responsibility, but also your joy to honor Christ. Even though it has come at a cost, there have been personal losses. I'm pregnant with my third child. All of our kids have come throughout the course of litigation. It has been very emotional at times. And yeah, I still feel like it was worth every step of the journey because we don't live our lives to honor man, but to honor God. And I think there's a lot of joy in following Christ in spite of opposition and then persecution.
Brian, will this case have a ripple effect on other Christian businesses in New York and even across the country?
It absolutely protects Christian professionals, but it actually protects all Americans, regardless of their particular viewpoint. And so what this case says is that the government has no business deciding what Americans say and what they don't say. The government can't put their thumb on the scale of particular views and favor those points over others. So certainly in New York, this case sets a precedent for other New Yorkers who engage in expression for a living, but it also serves as a precedent for wedding photographers across the country that says if their government is telling them that they have to take a particular view of marriage, the government is in violation of the First Amendment. And you mentioned the $225,000 attorney's fees that goes to Alliance Defending Freedom in this case. These types of violations come at a cost to governments, and that's one of the things also that was important to us in seeking the fees was to show that it comes at a cost to governments when they violate the First Amendment. So we're thankful that the court sided with Emilee and sided with the American people to demonstrate that they are free to express ideas consistent with their own views, not the views that the government holds.
Emilee, what's next for you? This has been a multi-year legal battle. What happens after something like this, of this magnitude for you and for your business?
Well, most imminently, I will be having a baby. But once that passes next month, I am so excited to really put my foot to the pedal with my business and actually confidently put my business out there because it has been this 10th season of not knowing where the other shoe was going to drop. I never would have foreseen that my trajectory would be one of a legal battle, and yet I felt that this is the hill that I was going to die on. This was something that God organically dropped in my lap, and so I think you have to hold the line somewhere. Sometimes taking the first step is the hardest part. For me, saying yes, I'm going to move forward with litigation was honestly one of the hardest parts, but now I feel like I can live out my faith in confidence and in honesty, whereas before that, my beliefs were closeted. Now I feel like saying, this is where I hold the line. This is a level of truth I'm not willing to compromise.
Was it worth it?
It was worth it. And now I have the joy and the confidence to be able to run my business in a way that honors Christ and is in line with my conscience.
Learn more at adflegal.org.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.